Hey, what's up guys? Here with another video, but this one's a little special because just so happens that the 30th anniversary of the NES here in the United States just happened. So, I didn't even know about this until a friend posted it on Facebook. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was actually at New York this past weekend, and of course I went to the Nintendo World for the first time and able to look around, and I found some stuff, bought some figures, and turns out that day that I went and I bought figures was the NES's 30th birthday. So I thought it would be fitting to make a video about the NES, how much I love it, and just I don't know, show my collection a little bit. Now, the story with me and the NES, basically, you know, my family and I, we got an NES a long time. So long I can't even remember. You know, I have an older sister. She was more in charge in that department. You know, she had the NES. I believe we got it. She told me we got it like around 87, 88, maybe even 89. Who knows? But we got the action set. You know, came with the orange gun, had the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt combo. And you know, I couldn't even tell you the first time I ever played video games, but I'm pretty sure it was the NES. I couldn't even remember a time where my life, you know, was without video games. All right, so what people may not understand, that I guess didn't live through that era, is just that the NES was it. Like, that was it. Like, everybody had an NES. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I have friends, cousins, everybody had the NES, and it's funny because everybody had different games. We go to people's houses, they have Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, or, you know, they have Legend of Zelda. It was so cool, man. And the thing about the NES was the games were so vastly different. Like, there was like action games and like shooters and platform games, cartoon games, and just anything you can think of, movie games, puzzle games, you know. And the NES, just like, it literally exploded, man. Like, it's just so cool. Like, I just remember it so much, man. Just being able to just blow in these carts, trying to get the NES to work, and, you know, renting games. That's one thing, man, I missed, was just renting games, going to the video store and renting tons of games. Like, you know, as you can tell behind me, man, I have a shit ton of NES games, dude. Like, the NES is a system I love dearly, and so I was trying to go for a complete set. You know, I don't have you know, every game. You know, I would like to at least get a full license set. But I mean, you know, prices right now are crazy. Everybody's jumping on this shit, man. Everybody hopping on, and as you can see, I have pretty much box collection. I just try to get them in the box and the manual if possible. You know, I'm not really down with them loose carts. You know, I used to go to the thrift and find them all the time, but now I don't even find anything. But the NES is dear to my heart, and so I just want to show some games that actually mean something to me. Games that I thought that, you know, I have the most memories with, games that I grew up with, games that I had. Back in the day, you know, I didn't have as many games as I have now, obviously. You know, back in the day when we had the NES, we only had like five games. Like, no lie. 5 games for a whole generation of the system, you know. And in Super NES, I had another 5-6 games for a whole generation. You know, but I'd rent most of them. Okay, so the first one I kind of want to show is Rad Racer. This game, you know, we actually had this game. Like, my father was like big into cars. You know, we also had Knight Rider, which kind of was, I didn't like that game, but this game's kind of funny. You know, this was a licensed Nintendo game. I really liked the music to it. You know, the music was really cool. And it was hard as shit. I'll be honest with you, as a kid, I couldn't even beat the first level. Really hard. But it was cool because it had 3D glasses. You hit select and all of a sudden it's like blue and red and turns into 3D. And so this is definitely a game that's near and dear to my heart. You know, it's a game I grew up with, like, heavy. You know, it's one of my favorite racing games, and even to this day I can't beat it, man. This game is so hard, but so good. Okay, here's a game, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I'm sure a lot of you guys may already know this one. This game I used to rent a lot. Very easy. I even beat it as a kid. There's a lot of, you know, Capcom games I grew up with. DuckTales was one of them. But this one is probably the one that I remember the most when it came to Capcom platforming games, and it was Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I love this game, even till today, dude. even today. I mean, I even have the second one, but that one doesn't even compare to this one, man. But I just remember renting this all the time at my local video game store, and just, you know, even after you beat these games, you still rent them again and again and again, just because they're just so good. This one was no exception. So another game I'd rent all the time was Bobble. This game was one of my favorite games as a kid. The music, the gameplay, and it was simple. Me and my sister would play this all the time. But what's funny about this game was when I was in first grade, I actually wrote like a report on it. And you know, I was obsessed with Nintendo back in first grade, and the only report I could come up with was something called Bobble. I don't remember what the report was about, but I remember I turned it into my teacher, and she was so amazed. She was like, Bobble, what is that? That is so awesome. I just thought it was funny, you know, because Bobble was just one of my most nostalgic games. Like this is definitely like the first stepping stones of like me as a gamer playing this game. Like, this is how good this game was. This game was so sick. Okay, so this game right here is a game that I actually, you know, purchased new as a kid, and the other two games before this one were actually really good. I grew up with them a lot. I'd rent them all the time. But this one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project. The funny story about this game was when I was in first grade, I remember going to a KB Toys and seeing it on the shelf, and I just remember crying for it. Like, I wanted it so bad. Like, Ninja Turtles was my life. And then mix it with a Nintendo game, like, I needed it. And so I cried and I cried and I cried until my parents just gave in and bought it for me. And I still have it. This isn't the original box I got it in, but it's still the original cart. Out of all the Ninja Turtle games, me personally on the NES, this was probably the best one. And I just remember that story, man. I remember buying it, and we bought it like at the KB Toys in the mall. And after we bought it, I remember just walking around the mall holding the box and just looking at the screenshots in the back and just thinking it was like the coolest shit ever. I fucking love this game, and I appreciate my parents buying it, because back in 1991, $60 was not cheap. But you know, that was the first and only time I ever cried for something like that. I guess, I don't know, I saw how hard my parents worked for it, so I never did it again. But I still have it. As you can tell, I still appreciate it, and I love my parents for doing that for me. Two games that we actually owned out of the 5 was actually 2 Bugs Bunny games. Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle and Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout. Now, Crazy Castle, they're completely different. Crazy Castle was actually kind of hard for me because it was kind of like a maze game, and you couldn't jump, and you had to figure out how to kill certain enemies and figure out the path and which way to go. But nonetheless, I still like this game. This game is still pretty cool. The music is like what I really enjoy about this game. The music is what pretty much gets me like super nostalgic. When I hear it, it just like takes me back to like, I don't know, 1990. Playing this as a little kid, it's crazy. And as for Birthday Blowout, this is probably the first game I'd ever beaten. I actually beat this as a kid, and it's probably, like I said, the first game I've ever beaten from beginning to end. And it's a platformer. You have a hammer, and I don't even know how I beat this as a kid. You know, looking back now, this shit's hard. And back in the day, you know, not many games had save states, so this was definitely one of them. So I actually had both Bugs Bunny games as a kid, and I guess because, you know, my parents or my sister figured Bugs Bunny, you know, we all know what Bugs Bunny is, so we had those 2 games. Alright, another game that I would rent heavy, Battletoads. I'm sure everybody knows Battletoads nowadays. Nowadays, Battletoads is like hype. It's like, you know, it's funny, but it's not, and everybody talks about Battletoads. But I mean, how many of those people that still talk Battletoads and know about it and talk about, you know, Rash and Killer Instinct, or the new one, and the new Battletoads and Shovel Knight, really lived through the era where they rented or bought Battletoads? Like, I rented Battletoads all the time as a kid. Like, I love Battletoads. Even throughout the mid-90s, I would still talk about Battletoads. You know, when I went to middle school and people would talk about video games, I'd be like, yo, you remember Battletoads? And people would be like, oh my gosh, I remember Battletoads. Even for Super Nintendo, I'd rent Battletoads. Like, Battletoads was the shit for me. Battletoads never died, in my opinion. Like, I was like the only person that still fucked with Battletoads throughout the rest of the 90s and throughout the 2000s until now. Now they're like big for some reason, but whatever. This game is definitely hard. Of course, I still can't beat the 3rd level. You know, that part with the platform, you just fall right through the platform. I couldn't do it, you know what I mean? And I know the game is even harder after that, but this game, you know, brought a lot of memories, man. A lot of broken hearts, man, because this game is fucking hard. But I like the creativity about it. You know, the Battletoads and the different types of toads with rash, pimple, and zits, and the different types of levels. It's cool, man. It's a cool game, and so definitely one of my favorites. Alright, last game I want to tell you about is Double Dragon 2. Double Dragon was huge when I was a kid, like really big. Like I love Double Dragon, like it's crazy. But 2 was the one that stood out to me the most. I remember my cousins had it, or they had rented it, and I remember my cousin trying to figure out how to do a hurricane kick, and I remember my 5-year-old ass was like, you know, my cousin's trying to do it, and I couldn't do it. I'm around 5 years old, and I'm like, I can do it. Nah. Not that I could do it, I just wanted to fucking play, so he gave me the controller. He's like, alright, here. He gave me the controller, and I started just doing nothing, playing and shit. He's like, man, you don't know what you're doing, dude. But, dude, Double Dragon, like, the second one is very nostalgic, man. And it's actually my favorite NES game to this day. Like, I just love it. It's super short, but it's, like, so fun just to, like, knee people and hurricane kick people and throw people off of ledges, off of freaking helicopters. It's tight, dude. I love this game, so definitely my favorite game on the NES. Now there's tons more games that I played as a kid that I didn't mention that I rented. You know, I played tons of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You know, I played Kickle Cubicle, Gremlins, Kung Fu Heroes, Bayou Billy, like tons. But the ones that I just showed you were the ones that I had the most memories with. And so hopefully you like that. I hope you enjoyed looking through my NES collection. I know I have a lot of games. Hopefully you're able to view that correctly. I mean, there's not too much lighting back here, but like I said, the NES was definitely my first system, my most memorable, and I love it, you know. And then the Super NES came out, and it was like game over after that, dude, you know what I mean? And Nintendo back in the day was doing it. They were the bomb. Nintendo was the shit. They weren't that kiddie shit they are now, you know. They're not that N64 GameCube Wii bullshit. Nah, they were ahead of their time. They were on top. The shit. Unfortunately, Nintendo now has been kind of branded, and you know, I don't blame people for thinking that it's a kiddie console. Yeah, they might have some mature titles here and there, but you know, their first party games and their characters are very kiddie-ish. And you know, I mean, a lot of people still enjoy that. They, you know, people my age, I mean, I'm 30. You know what I mean? And as much as I love Mario and stuff, you know, growing up, once you play one Mario game, you play them all, dude. I'm sorry. I still enjoy the NES and the Super NES era. I love Nintendo, even though, you know, I really don't mess with the games they put out now, or the console, or the stuff they think of nowadays. I'm not really into it, but you know, I was around during the NES and Super NES. I consider that Nintendo's golden age era, and I will never forget that. Those would be some of the best memories I will have in gaming. You know, it's my first console, first experience playing video games, the first characters I was able to jump right in and love, and it's just awesome, and I just love Nintendo for it, and I wish they would go back to their roots and just create a simple, regular console that could compete, you know, with awesome third-party support, but unfortunately, that's not the way it is now. You know, Sony is the king. My opinion, Sony is the shit. The king since PS1, but that's a whole other story. I don't want to get into that now. I'm sure a lot of people, if you guys are watching my videos, you know my opinion on all that. You know, I may do another video about that. But this is on Nintendo, and I wish them a happy 30th. They are awesome, and I thank them for persevering, being diligent, and putting out the NES here in the United States, even though nobody wanted to mess with it. They knew what they were putting out. You know, they knew that their console was the shit. They knew that they could make this thing big, and sure enough, it was, dude. And it took off, and so many people have so many memories with Nintendo. It's like, it's crazy. So once again, guys, that's it. That's my video. That's my NES collection. Hope you enjoyed that. Like always, like, share, subscribe. Continue to watch our videos. Comment any stories you got. I'd like to know any memories. You know, I'd love to see your guys' feedback. But once again, guys, appreciate you watching. Peace out.